Hello, everybody, and welcome to my first Aetherdrift draft, and maybe the first Aetherdrift draft in the world. We are going to be playing the draft, going through pick by pick, play by play. But before I dive in, I want to give a huge shout out to Wizards of the Coast for giving me a free preview account in this early access event so I can get this recorded for you early. If you enjoy my video, LSV's in my draft. But if you do enjoy this video, then be sure to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe for more, comment with your questions, thoughts, and feedback. I already have a draft guide made for this set where I go through top commons, archetype overviews, so be sure to check that out as well. But we're going to be doing the draft, and then we're going to be playing 4 matches because I want to make sure I can get as many different drafts in as possible during the early access event, really maximize my time here to try everything out. But if it's 2-2 after the first 4 matches, I'll play a 5th one as a tiebreaker. So our pack has a kind of clunky rare in it. Unstoppable Plan. It doesn't really do what you want. Untap all non-land permanents. Not particularly good. I think it's actually pretty unplayable. We also have Murraganda Raceway, another card I don't love. It has the start your engines mechanic, but by the time you get to the late game, getting an extra mana is not crazy good, and a colorless land is a big downside in Limited. I am a big fan of the Unswerving Sloth, and that is currently the card that I am leaning towards taking because it's just so hard to deal with. When it attacks, it gains indestructible. If you've saddled it, then you untap all the creatures you control. A 5/5 that attacks as an indestructible creature is no joke, and it untaps all your other creatures, so it gives them essentially vigilance. I also like the Pace Setter Paragon as an exhaust card that can hit in for big chunks of damage, but I'm trying to emphasize just hovering over the cards, talking about the ones that I am taking so that you can see them in action, because I am aware that there is a lot to absorb. Here in this pack, there is Bloodghast as our rare, which is not my favorite rare, but it is solid, especially because the downside of not being able to block is mitigated somewhat by the fact that it has vehicles that it can crew. But I don't think I'm going to take that here. It's a little hard to cast in the early turns. I really like this Grease Wrench Goblin. It's a 1-drop, so it can start chipping in for damage early, and then in the mid to late game, you exhaust it, which is a new mechanic. It's 1 use only, but you get to pay 3 mana, discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards and put a counter on it. So if you top deck this in the mid to late game, it's like a 4 mana card that filters your draw significantly, which I do like. There is a daring mechanic that kind of goes with the Sloth, because you can pay 4 mana to put a counter onto a mount or a vehicle. But I'm not a huge fan of taking a card that's a little weaker like this early. And then I really like Earth Rumbler as well, because it's really easy to get this crewed up once you build a deck that's built around the graveyard a little bit by exiling creatures or things from your graveyard. But I like the way we've started here. We've got our Grease Wrench Goblin and our Unswerving Sloth. So now we have a bit of an interesting spot here. There is Push the Limit, which I don't think is necessarily a great card, but it is very cool and interesting. And the reason this is cool is because there are some vehicles in this set that have cycling, so you can cycle a bunch of the vehicles. We already saw, not a bunch, but there's a couple. We already saw one. It's like a 6/4, it's a 4 mana 6/3 menace, I think, and you can cycle them and then kind of go off. But I'm not going to be doing that right now. Here there is Zahur, Glory's Past. It is an early time to take a multicolored card. 2 mana 3/2 has some abilities for sacrificing, and if you get max speed, it's pretty good. But I'm very tempted to take this Gastel Thrill Seeker. It plays great with the Grease Wrench Goblin. 1-drop into 2-drop, nice aggressive start, and I think this could be a really nice start to a draft. There's also the Carry On Cruiser as a more value-oriented 3-drop to play, but I think I'm going to take the speculative pick on the Gastel Thrill Seeker because I think it's pretty good with the Grease Wrench Goblin that I just took. And now there is a Bloodghast, another one. This card plays really well in an aggressive deck. If you can get them low, landfall, bring back your threats. There's also a Spot Cycle Scouter, so an aggressive vehicle for a red-white deck maybe. There's Deathless Pilot. If I wanted to go towards a easier to cast 2-drop, you can get it back, things of that nature. I don't think I want to take the Bloodghast right now. I think I would rather take the Deathless Pilot, probably. It's similar to Bloodghast, but it can actually block. That's one of the funny things. This one's harder to cast, comes back automatically, but the mana matters less in Limited than it would in Constructed, where you have more self-mill and stuff. And this card being able to come back whenever you need it is nice. There's also Sky Crash, which I think I actually might take. It's got cycling, and it's also, very importantly, 2 mana kill an artifact, and there's enough vehicles in this set that I'm fairly happy taking that. And I don't really want to move off of red just yet, even if Deathless Pilot is a card I like. Fuel the Flames. So 3 mana, you can deal 2 damage to each creature, or you can cycle it. So cycling is a huge upside on this sort of card. Normally Sky Crash or that sort of card wouldn't be as good, but the fact that you can cycle it is a pretty big upside. I did speculate on the Gastel Thrill Seeker, but I'm not committed to playing red-black by any means. That was mostly like, oh, if black is open, I'll be so happy to have this card. then I'm relatively happy with this direction. I think I'm going to take low discard Disciple. This is a 3-drop that I'm a big fan of because in a set like this where both players are trying to race to get speed going and attack each other and have some big vehicles, you can really win the game with one big life swing, and that's what the low discard Disciple helps you do. I do think the Blockbuster is also fine. You sacrifice a creature or vehicle, destroy target artifact, so you can kill your opponent's artifacts. I already have an efficient artifact destruction spell in my pile, and I don't want to overemphasize those, but I do think it is worth keeping in mind. And then here, in this pack, I think Boom Scholar is a really good card, so it makes your exhaust abilities cheaper. This is pick 6. So it is a little bit late to switch into green. We have seen maybe 1 or 2 green cards. There's a Beast Rider Vanguard here. We're not going to overly cover what it is, but it's a green card. So Boom Scholar maybe has some support. Momentum Breaker as a early black card to help with Start Your Engines could also be good. You just want cards that say Start Your Engines on them to play early. But I think we might speculate into Boom Scholar here. Seeing one pick 6. We already have a couple of red cards. White has not seemed crazy open, though we do have the Sloth, and we got this Disciple a little bit later. But I'm going to take the Boom Scholar because it has the chance to be one of the better cards in my deck if it works out. So here we've got a couple red cards. Red's looking pretty open. We have a couple white cards, but white hasn't seemed particularly open. And then we have this Thrill Seeker for black. Here there's Tyrox, Saurid Tyrant. So just high power creature for 2 mana. 2 mana 4/1, no other abilities. There's also Goblin Surveyor, which is a really nice 3-drop for getting your speed started. And then in the late game, you can exile it to draw a card. 3 mana 3/2 is not the greatest stat line, though. Then there's Gilded Goda as just a 2-drop that has Saddle, and you can kind of attack them with it. I think this card's going to be better than the Tyrox, even though Tyrox is huge stat-wise. 1 toughness is a pretty big downside. And looks like red is open here. We're seeing a Crash and Burn. 4 mana, deal 6, or destroy a vehicle at instant speed is nice. I like that better than Sky Crash. There's also Wreckage, Wickerfolk, and there's a Carry-On Cruiser. I might actually take the Carry-On Cruiser here. We are seeing some nice little options for a red-black deck potentially. Crash and Burn, because we already are committed to playing red, I think Crash and Burn's better, even though I think Carry-On Cruiser might be better overall. This is a 3 mana 3/2 vehicle. You can get back a creature or vehicle from your graveyard. But because we know we're playing red, it's really good to just make sure we prioritize making sure we hit playables. So here we can take either the Goda or the Prowlcatcher Specialist. I'd rather have 1 of each than 2 of the Gilded Goda. I think this card's nice on turn 2. You can really start snowballing potentially. It kind of threatens your opponent in that way, but I just think this card's better. It hits them immediately, and then the Exhaust ability provides utility in the late game, and that's just what you're looking to do. So pretty nice there. I think Engine Rat's also quite solid as a card. But again, we don't know what our second color is right now, so we're just taking red cards whenever possible. Here, Clamorous Ironclad, totally solid card. This is the vehicle I was mentioning, the 6/3 Menace Cycler. There's also Hazard of the Dunes. This card's pretty huge. Do I want this guy or do I want this guy? I think I'll just take the red card. They're very, I think the Hazard is better, but again, we're not quite committed there. And then here's the Push the Limit. So if we wanted to, we could kind of go for that, get a bunch of Clamorous Ironclads, combo people off. But I think our deck isn't really that type of strategy. We want to just take a red card. That'll give us maybe options to go more towards this aggression or towards white as a color. Deathless Pilot coming around late. There's also Sunbillow Verge, which I'm going to take, because if we do end up in white, which we might still, we'll be happy to have it. Kick Off the Celebrations is not a card that I really prioritize too highly. And then we'll just take the Vendetta. It's not playable, though, because just this sort of effect is not playable and limited. But here we have options. We know we're playing red, so that's huge. But we can really go any color. We could even go red-blue if we got a good enough card to incentivize it, because we just have so many red cards that we can just switch for even just a couple blue cards. Let's move this to the sideboard where we want. So, and let's look at our curve real quick. We have plenty of 2-drops, even if we aren't playing black. We have 1, 2, 3 2-drops, even though they're not crazy. Red just has a lot of medium 2-drops, which gives you a lot of diversity. Mu Yangling is really nice. When a creature you control with flying deals combat damage, you draw a card, and it makes a flyer itself. So that's pretty good value. Vehicles, because vehicles have flying. There is the Autarch Mammoth. So if we wanted to go into green, this is a really good green card. It's hard to saddle, but even just the stats of a 5/5 plus a 3/3 for 6 mana is pretty good. And there's also a run over. There's not a good red card to take here. So I think it's between the Mu Yangling and the Autarch Mammoth. And I'm going to take the Mu Yangling. I think that none of the other colors except red was so open that we are afraid to move into blue for a really strong card like this. And now we have decisions, because first of all, Ketramos is not a particularly great card in limited, I don't think. It's too hard to get going. But there is Crash and Burn as a kill spell. There's also Goblin Surveyor, and then there's Trinket Mage. So if we did go towards a if we did play, I mean, Transit Mage, not Trinket Mage, Transit Mage, but we already have one artifact that costs 4 because Clamorous Ironclad counts. We'll definitely see more of them. And we just took the Mu Yangling. So we could totally take this, try to wheel Swift Watercliffs or something. I do think Elvish Refueler is absolutely stellar, though. And I think I'm just going to take that instead, because green is still a color option that we could go towards. It's a little bit tough that we missed out on the Mammoth, but I think Elvish Refueler is one of the best uncommons in the set. So we're going to take it. Then there's a card that I'm not sure how to evaluate. Even when I was looking at the spoiler, the previews, this card's pretty tricky because for 6 mana, you make all your creatures 6/6 base. So if they have counters, they stay bigger. And if they cast spells on your turn, you get a big guy, but they're not going to do that. But it just makes all your guys huge for 3 mana. Or I could take a Nimble Thopterist. Stay flexible. I'm just going to take the March of the Whirldews. I think this card's going to be pretty good. And I've already got a couple of reasons to be green. I only have the 1 blue card that I spec'd on. I don't regret doing that, by the way. I could have gotten past a couple good blue cards. We didn't take any blue cards pack 1, so we could have. It means we didn't really see blue cards pack 1, so it could have been kind of open pack 2 as well. We're gonna try this card, the March. We'll see how it is. Oh my gosh, and we're getting paid off in spades here. Afterburner Expert is stellar. When you activate an exhaust ability, you return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's just a recursive 4/2 creature. Currently, I'm really happy with how we've navigated this, but I am still there's a couple picks that I wish I could have done differently in retrospect. But getting that Boom Scholar really opened us up to getting all these good cards in pack 2. And we are going to definitely be able to make playables. At this point, I'm just going to commit to playing this green-red deck. We're not going to be able to splash the Mu Yangling, but we have a couple of exhaust abilities already. The Prowcatcher, we're not going to play the Gastel or the Lotus Guard Disciple. But we will be able to play this Afterburner Expert, so that's fantastic. Okay, there's a Marauding Mako. So that's a nice 1-drop to combo with some cycling. So we have, or just discard in general. So Grease Wrench Goblin, it counts. The Sky Crash counts. The Ironclad Armorclad. So there's a few things to combo with it. I think I'm just going to take Night Market, though. I really like the fact that I can get a land that also doubles as a cycler in the late game when I can't use the mana. And that's just huge. It also makes sure I can cast all my spells, including triple green spells potentially. And I think overall it's just a really good card for any deck. Now we get a Pace Setter Paragon, nice exhaust ability attached to a reasonably sized creature on its own. And if we had made the Audible into blue and we hadn't gotten all these good green cards, we would be seeing some stuff like getting Mangler for defenses, Siphon as a nice late game card, but pretty happy with how we did. And this is the risk of taking a card like Gastel Thrillseeker early, is you end up in spots where you can't actually play it, and then you just have to abandon that pick. And we're fine doing that. There's a Terrian World Tyrant. I kind of want to try this card just to see how good just a giant green creature is. It does look pretty terrifying. There's also Loxodon Surveyor and Goblin Surveyor. So there's a couple Surveyors. There's a Surveyor cycle, but we have plenty of 3-drops that are just, I think, better than those cards. And I think trying this guy out could be pretty good. It's a bit of a nombo with this, but that's fine. So a blue-red land. I guess I could try to splash blue if I saw something good enough. There's Push the Limit. I don't think other people are going to really try to go for a kind of Push the Limit combo deck where you just take a bunch of Skybox Fairies and Clamorous Ironclads, but I'm definitely going to try it at some point. Today, here we'll just take the Surveyor. Okay, let's kick off the celebrations. There's also Silken Strength as a combat trick. I'm fine taking 1 kickoff, I think. But yeah, we could have totally gotten some solid blue cards for this deck, I think. Nice. I really like getting a 2-drop here. This card helps me find my permanents, and most of my cards are permanent, so this is really working out well. I think red-green has been good to me. Mill a card, and then I can use this to ramp stuff out. I think I'll try this. I don't think it's particularly great outside of like black-green, but I kind of want to get a taste of a bunch of different cards. That's one of the reasons to play in this sort of event. It's really fun to see what everything can do. It's also nice to have a couple 1-drops. Ooh, I'll take this guy, I think. The exhaust over the Jaguar. But I like having a couple cards like Molt Tender. So if I go Molt Tender into an End Raider Catalyzer, I can automatically attack them and maybe ping in for some damage. Ooh, another Exhauster. Nice. So making my exhaust abilities cost 2 less is pretty huge in this deck. Of course, in draft, as in all things, if you knew exactly where everything was going to go right off the bat, you could do things better. So, for example, I could have taken a really good 6-drop for my deck over the Mu Yangling, but I didn't know that green was going to be so open pack 2. I mean, I could have maybe made some guesses or hoped for the best, but okay. In this pack, we have Plow Through as I think the clear option. It can be a removal spell. It can also destroy a vehicle, which is going to come up a lot. And I think overall it's just a really nice option. There's also Gibberic Omnivore, so 2 mana, 3/2, just attacks well, crews well, all that good stuff. But my 2-drop slot's pretty good. I've got the Prow Catcher. I'm just going to move this card to a different pile, but we have like a lot of good 2-drops already, like 5 of them. So we don't need to prioritize 2-drops too highly, though I would upgrade stuff with this guy. Like I could cut the Catalyzer or something like that. And I do like these lands too. Wild Roads. You can sacrifice it to get a vehicle. I mean, not a vehicle, a pilot for your vehicles. I realized that I didn't hover over this card for very long, but it's a fight spell or a destroy target vehicle. And now we get to take another Boom Scholar. That's fantastic. And when you have 2 Boom Scholars, it just makes any card with exhaust so much better. That's one of the reasons I was so happy to get the Elvish Refueler. As we already talked about, being able to activate the exhausts over and over is really good. And I think this deck is really coming together nicely. The Afterburner Expert is also a fantastic addition to this deck. We have a lot of exhaust abilities. And when we get to the mid to late game, we're going to have plenty of uses for our mana. So I'm really happy with how this is going. And this card is perfect. Just what I'm looking for. Grease Wrench Goblin keeps that card flowing. If I'd known I was going to get another one of these, maybe I would have wanted to take the Marauding Mako. But I think the Night Market, I think I took the Night Market over it, is going to be pretty solid as well. This just helps me avoid flooding out. And I think the March of the World is going to be pretty reasonable as well. So that's nice. But yeah, Grease Wrench Goblin it is. This card's pretty funny. So you can put a creature or vehicle into the battlefield, and if it's an artifact, you put 2 counters. I don't love this card. I think, generally speaking, 4 mana for a 1/2 is just too much of a downside in limited. As such, I think this card's good in a cycling deck, which we really aren't. The combos with the Grease Wrench Goblin, because this makes you discard 2 cards. I think we might just take another End Rider Catalyzer, or we could take Silken Strength. I will take Silken Strength, I think. I don't need another Catalyzer. I think it's kind of a mediocre card. And my deck doesn't really care about getting to max speed, other than for the Afterburner Expert. Wait, no, not even for the Afterburner. Yeah, this isn't a max speed payoff. It's just a card to play. So my kill spells are limited. I don't even know if I want the Clamorous Ironclad. Beautiful. Lightning Strike is just what the doctor ordered. 2 mana, deal 3 to anything. Gives me some reach, gives me some more removal. I have the Plow Through, the Crash and Burn, and now a Lightning Strike, which is pretty much the bare minimum amount of removal I would want. 3 removal spells. But I'm pretty happy with getting that. And now I can take Scrap Compactor. So sack an artifact, deal 3 to target creature. That's not an exhaust ability, though. And then there's End Rider Catalyzer, but I think I just want another removal spell, have access to it. It's also nice that I can find it off of Beast Rider Vanguard. And it can also just kill whatever I want in the late game. I think this card's pretty reasonable. Ooh, now I get the Marauding Mako. That's pretty good. Marauding Mako actually seems pretty reasonable in this deck now. I've got the Mako, and then 2 Grease Wrench Goblins to be combo with it. The Clamorous Ironclad that I can still consider playing. Rise from the Wreck. So this can get back Mount cards. I have Mount. I have all the types. At least one of. Or I could take the Magmakin. I don't really want the Magmakin. So I'm just going to take Rise from the Wreck. overall, I think this deck is looking really good. We'll still have to make some final decisions on things, but overall, it's looking nice. Dynamite Diver. So it can crew things, but I don't have any vehicles really other than the Clamorous Ironclad. There's this thing, but I guess I'll just take this guy and then not play him. Avishkar Raceway is also cool. It gives you a discard outlet in the late game, but I think I'd rather just focus on keeping my mana reasonable. Velo Heart Bike. Gets you some fixing a vehicle. Also the Jaguar. Or this, which doesn't really do much in my deck. I guess I'll just take the Jaguar, but I'm not going to play any of these. So this is 28 cards, but this is a land, so that's 27. And then I'll be making cuts. And then we'll be diving in. I don't know if I'm a Rise from the Wreck deck. I don't have a lot of mounts either, I don't think. There's one mount. Yeah, I only have one mount in the deck. And like one vehicle, so I'm just going to cut Rise from the Wreck. I actually really want to try Pedal to the Metal. I want to just see it in action. It's one of those cards that's really hard for me to evaluate. It seems reasonable to me. Like, you can win a combat with it early, but you can also just, like, kill them with it. And I did get the Endrider Catalyzer. So just another 2-mana 3/1. So that I can use to activate these things if I get it going. Another 2-mana 3/1. So I have a lot of 1 toughness, which is potentially a downside in the deck. But it does play well with the first strike combat trick. So this is the deck right now. I don't really want any of these cards. Dynamite Diver would be so good against me. Hopefully I don't come up against that. This is like another top end card if I needed it, but I don't think I will. I have plenty of ways to spend my mana in the late game. What I'm going to do is just go through and decide on cards to cut. So this card's definitely a candidate for cutting. I can spend mana, but like doing mana every other turn is kind of a big investment, and I don't really want to top deck it. Combat tricks are always a candidate. Cutting one of these is a candidate. Kickoff Celebrations is definitely a candidate. Ironclad is a candidate. Mako, for sure, can be chosen. The Gilded Goda is not the best. Surveyor. I don't really care about max speed at all. Like, the Surveyor is just like kind of a medium card, I think, in my deck, especially with all the 3-drops that I already have. So we're going to make some of these cuts. First, we're going to cut that guy. Mako is good with this guy. We're going to cut 1 Catalyzer. We are going to cut a 2nd Catalyzer and the Goblin Surveyor. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2-drops, and then these are 1-drops. I feel like the Mako could go, and if the Mako goes, the Ironclad could go. And that could just be the deck. Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty reasonable for me. And kick off the Celebrations is also kind of mediocre, especially because I have the 2 Grease Wrench Goblins, so I don't really need that filtering effect. So I will actually add back in something. And I think I will add in either another 2-drop for the extra pressure or just the Mako because it does have some nice upsides. I don't have any more exhaust cards. Maybe I just add this guy in because I can use his mana for activated abilities. Yeah, we're just going to try out the Ironclad for now. And let's get to some games. Let's make this Boom Scholar our guy. And as we load up into our game, I want to give a shout out to the patrons who support my channel at patreon.com/NicolaiBolas, and special shout out to those who support at the credits level. Patrons gain access to some cool rewards like my card by card tier list and my format thoughts document, among other things, and just also help the channel grow and thrive. So let's get back to the games now, but wanted to shout those folks out. Okay, so we've got 2-drop, 3-drop on the draw. Whoa, this is a cool battlefield. We don't have any green mana, but this can make green mana with the saddle. This is such a cool battlefield. I'm excited. I really like this avatar. I only get to use it in this event. And yeah, I have a pet. It'll come around. But yeah, we're going to be playing 4 games, as I said. So we'll get to really see things. Oh, there he is. Oh my gosh, what a legend. Hello, buddy. And we found our color. Perfect. Tyrox. Okay. Good work, Tyrox. He's huge. Okay, this is a cool way of showing speed. I like it. Oh my gosh. Being on the play might be important in this format. And Tyrox hits like a truck. Bum ba bum bum bum. My hand just doesn't function if I don't get to operate here. I guess that is the benefit of these. They get your speed started, though. They would have been able to do it anyway with the Outpace Oblivion. They are really cruising. Okay. So this can give a guy +1/+2, so I can win the combat. Oh no, they're just gonna kill it. Sure. So now they're at max speed, so they can give it haste. Uh-oh. Oh, I could have killed this guy. Oh gosh, I have to play this. Green. I should have attacked them. Because they can do 2 to me with this. So if they have any creature, I'm dead to this thing. Because they just give it haste. Wow. Oh my gosh. That was crazy. That was so fast. Well, you live and you learn. Being on the draw was... I mean, I feel like that game plays out completely different if I'm on the play. I have my 2-drop, I hit them, I make a treasure. Gosh, kill spells are going to be important in this set. Oh my gosh. Okay. Changes being made. Game 1 in the books. We're getting rid of the Ironclad for a card that's able to do more stuff early. Maybe not even this. Not that guy. Let's just bring in this little Molt Tender guy. See how we like him. But yeah, that was blazing fast. That was like blink and you're dead type stuff. So let's see. I mean, I don't love making adjustments after one game. It's hard. Ooh, I think this means it's a Wizards of the Coast employee. Let's show them what we're made of. Okay. Nice. This is a good hand. 1-drop, 2-drop. We've lost the die roll. No! Little buddy, what you doing to me, man? Oh my gosh, of course they have a 1-drop. I thought I could be off to the races, but no. Their Brightfield Glider is doing his thing. Oh my gosh, and they're just playing at 2 mana, 3/3. What is the world coming to? And they just get to crew him. Oh my gosh. What is happening? I can't even block it because it's flying. Oh no. I'm so toast. This is insane. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm not going to attack. This thing can't attack anyway past my 2/2. Don't want to trade my guy that's about to... Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm like dead. What the heck just happened? It's turn 3. They have 7 power in play, and 6 of it is attacking me. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is so bad. I should have played my forest. Oh my gosh. Okay. So resolve that. So I put a stop in so I can kill their thing if I want, which I think I have to. So this thing can't attack me, which is nice. This game feels so over. No attacks. Do I play Molt Tender and try to use this guy? I don't think so. I'm just going to threaten to use this guy and use Crash and Burn on their flyer. Oh, this is where I get punished. Okay. This is where I get punished for not playing the forest. Just jamming a 9/7 would have been really good there. Oh, no, I never mind. I ran out of forest. What am I saying? I played out my forest eventually. Okay. Sure. To the races we go! Beat that, amigo. Gosh, I'm in so much trouble. We might stabilize here, though. If they don't play another flyer. Gosh, they're just going to kill it somehow. This can be a 7/7. My gosh. It can trade with my 9/7. But 5-drop for 5-drop is okay still. I'm glad this is a Molt Tender and not the other thing. Okay. Oh, you're evil. They're out of cards, though. We'll mill a card. That would have been really good. We're just going to activate this thing. Okay, well, I'm basically dead now. I need to find, like, my lightning strike or something. Well, that was game 2. Gosh. Maybe I could have... I don't even know. I don't think I could have done anything crazy different. I could have got the Molt Tender out of turn earlier and done the exhaust play that turn. Gosh. Well, maybe we won't even get to 4 games. I mean, I think my deck is pretty reasonable. We've been like so dead before I even got started. The Molt Tender seemed good though. Stuff trades off very quickly, it would seem. Maybe I need this guy, but I don't want to over exaggerate what's happening here. Let's just win the die roll so we can see what our deck looks like on the play, maybe. My gosh. That person didn't even... They had 7 power by turn 3. They went 1 mana guy into 2 mana the dude that crews it. Like the only guy that can crew it in the set. Oh my gosh. There's so many stats. I played a 5 mana 9/7. It wasn't on curve though. It wasn't quite the same. Gosh. And if they played like a real 4-drop creature instead of an artifact that I could kill with my 2 mana removal spell. My gosh. That was actually devastating. I was so far behind. If I had... Ironically, if I'd kept that fight spell, I think I would have won. Like, if I hadn't milled it. Okay. We're on the play. Let's see what we can do here. We're the ones with a 1-drop on the play this time. We don't have a 2-drop, but that's okay. Okay, we'll do this naming green, because we have that triple green card in our deck. Okay. What do you got for me, opponent? Ooh, multicolor. I respect it. They can have a counter spell, but I'm not going to play around it. So I have a lot of stuff going on here. Like, I have plenty of ways to spend my mana already. Let's see what they shall do here. Just gonna make sure the damage connects. If they have a lightning strike, they might have been trying to bait me into using this. Okay, that's what they have. Sure. So they were trying to bait me into using it. I almost activated this guy and just discarded my 2 lands. But I'll just hold up this crash and burn for if they play something. Sure. I'll kill that. I don't really need the Molt Tender. I now have triple green. This thing's going to be active next turn. So far, I've made fairly efficient trades. They got to discard this card. That's pretty cool. I just need to draw more of my creatures. Pedal to the Metal can do some work, though, if they don't block my guy. 3 can buff up my guy with +5 power. This can only target creatures. Interesting game here. I'm really hoping we win. Sure. The ace. Sure. So they have 4 cards in hand, but they've also been stuck on lands. Meanwhile, that is not a problem that I have. Yep. Gotta punch through eventually. It's just irritating. Okay. They have 4 spells in hand. They have their own Grease Wrench Goblin. Yikes. Oh, man. This Surveyor is so irritating. Not going to block. I'll use my life total as a resource here. Gotta do some real work to them on the back end here. Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. This is frustrating. I mean, I didn't even have a lot of decisions to make this game, honestly. I could have tried to save my pedal to the metal. I feel like I just didn't draw a lot of my good cards. Yeah. It's tough. Going 0-3 in my first draft of the format is not the most fun experience in the world. I might just be dead here. They only discarded 1 card, which means their last card's good. Yep, that was a quick one. That was a quick one. I assume they have a combat trick or something to kill me here. Yeah, they have pedal to the metal now. Gosh. Huh. Well, we learned a lot. We had an interesting time in our first draft. And yeah, who needs a 4-game restriction if you can speedrun it and lose in 3? I mean, the first 2 games didn't even feel particular. I mean, the second game I almost won, I guess. But yeah, that 3rd game, we got off to a decent start, but then, I mean, we started with a 2-land hand, but we have all these cheap spells that have expensive activated abilities. And we didn't draw, I don't know, maybe we needed to have, like, this guy, but that wouldn't have changed that much. Like, we were not close to getting a max speed going. But yeah, that is how that goes. I guess when you have pedal to the metal, you want a trampler, so you don't have to use it just to get through a 0-4. But yeah, that's how that went. Maybe I needed to have a couple more expensive cards. I thought with the activated abilities from the things like this, that's like having a spell effect on your 3-drop. That gives me a mana sink. That gives me a mana sink. Or a thing that recurring threat. I had a lot of good cards that I did not draw, so that's just how that goes sometimes, I guess. And yeah, if you made it to the end, leave hashtag FAST in the comment section down below. Huge thanks to Wizards of the Coast for the free preview account so I could get this recorded for you early and I guess quickly as well, because that was a very fast draft. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something, so maybe you will be able to apply some of these lessons in your own drafts. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you next time.